Hello everyone, and once again this is Lori Radis with 12 Paw Designs. And this week we are going to make a Christmas tier tray. So I'm going to show you the supplies that I use to make my tier tray, and I actually once again use the Glowforge, and so I cut mine out of wood, but the file is completely set up so that you guys can use vinyl and other items and things like that. So don't let this stop you that I did it this way. Okay, use your creativity and have fun with it. So because I'm using the Glowforge, I need a prepped board. So that means my board has a paper mask on it so that it helps prevent the charring. I have some chalk paints. I used red, white, and green. I have some Christmas ribbon, brushes. I'm actually going to use paint pens because it makes it a whole lot easier to paint the small pieces. And then of course, like my weeding tool, my X-Acto knife, brush, scissors, etc. However, if you don't have an option to cut items out like this, and again, it's something that I'm offering if people are interested in having that service, that I can cut it out of wood for them. You can actually find things at like the Dollar Tree. You could get the 6x6 little signs and take the top portions off. You can use the mini crates, etc. So don't let that stop you. But some other things that you do need also is I use the tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. You will need Scrabble tiles, and again you can get those at Walmart, or you can use the 3-in-1 game from the Dollar Tree that has a little Scrabble pieces in it. Glue, wood beads. Now I bought some from Amazon that you can paint, but I also found some at Hobby Lobby that were at last Christmas when they were at 70% off, so I bought it. Jute, glue, etc. So it may look like a lot of things, but that's what it is. There's just a lot of parts to it. The other thing is, you can see here I have all my wood pieces cut out, and we're going to go ahead and paint the pieces that we need to paint. Now I sped up the video here because again, you don't need to watch me paint, but I painted the majority of I made this box in the front of the box to actually make it look like a box of books or a stack of books. And that's why if you're working with items from the Dollar Tree, you can get the mini crates and you just cover up the crate portion of it with wider ribbon. And it'll look just like stacked books if you want to do that. Or you can find books, wood pieces that size to actually do actual looking books. But the box works totally well, and it looks like a stack of books, so it works. So I actually use that, and again, you can actually use the mini crates from the Dollar Tree. And I painted the top red to make it look like books, and then I painted just a little bit of the edges to make it also look like books, and the top slat. And then the bottom slat I did green, and the edges, etc., just to cover it up. So go ahead and paint your items. Now once we have the big things painted with the paintbrush, I actually use paint pens, and in this case today I'm using the Posca's paint pens. And what I did is I actually took some Gorilla duct tape and I removed the paper transfer mask. So just like it's regular paper transfer tape that you use over the wood to make sure that it prevents the charring. And one of the fastest ways to get off that mask off the front and the back is to actually use Gorilla duct tape. So it really works well. And then once I have the masking off, then I'm just going to take the paint pens quick and just swipe them over the top to paint the items that I want painted. And it makes life a whole lot easier, and I don't have to do it. The other thing is, on some of the words too, I could have actually just cut them directly, painted the board prior to cutting, like white or red or something, and then I don't even have to paint when I'm done. So it's one way to make life really easy, is to paint the board ahead of time, cut it, and then remove the mask, and you're already done. If you're doing it after the fact, then you can actually just use a paint pen and do it. I put them back in. You can see here putting the pieces back in. It can be a little faster, cannot. It's just trying to figure out what works for you. But the reason why I saved the Merry and Bright I'll call it a jig. I save the jig so that when I put it on the sign, I have my spacing proper. And you can actually see here, I'm just trying to get everything in to make sure I have all the pieces and everything else like that. So once everything's painted, then we can go on from there. There's a few items I actually had to go back through and apply a second coat to. So I finished those up and did all my edging. And then once all my painting is done, now I'm going to go through and do assembly. And here I'm actually using Gorilla Gel super glue. Another easy way to do this is you can actually, with the Glowforge, is apply a 3M double-sided stick tape to the back of it. Cut your items out. So then when you're ready to assemble, all you have to do is peel the backing off and you're good to go. So I'm actually assembling the sign here. So you can see I actually put the jig down and I'm gluing my wooden square around it to make sure that I actually have good placement and everything. So I'm actually utilizing that jig to help. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue on the back of the letters and glue those down. Now, one of the things I learned, and again, I like to be transparent and give tips out as I go along, I forgot to take the mask off my jig and it was kind of loose, and so I glued my letters down, and when I tried to pull the jig off, it stuck because the mask actually glued down to the sign. So I struggled a little bit. You can see me here, I'm trying to pry it apart. Once I had it down, then I realized that I had the mask on there, and then I could pull the mask off and go. But it happens, it's crafting. Once I had my lines glued down, I realized I wanted a little bit more paint, so I just went ahead and just took my paint pen and went around the wood one more time, and so it turned out good. Now next I'm taking my books and I'm going to use that same jig minus the mask because I learned my lesson the first time, and I'm actually going to use it so that I can put believe and joy down. Now I should have cut a jig for the piece as well, but that was in a different spot and I should have put a square around it so that I could have used it as a jig. So again, I'm just using my my Gorilla Gel, using the jig, putting some adhesive on the back, and then just putting them down. And you can see how easy it is to use the jigs to get everything to stick and go from there. So then once I have the one believe down, I'll go ahead and do the joy as well. Then once I have all the letters on the front of the books, I took the super glue, put some on the back of the panel, and squeezed it onto the box. And so now you can actually see it really does look like a set of books. In my file, I did remove the little notches out of it because I forgot to take it out of the one because I wasn't putting a bottom piece on, but I could have easily just put the bottom piece on and went from there. But I left it off because I don't know about you, when packing up Christmas decorations, I like to try and get as much into a box as I can. And with that open in there, I can actually stick things in there like the Scrabble pieces we're doing right now. So when I made the base for the Scrabble pieces, I glued together 4 tumbling tower blocks. Glued those together like a little base. And then I also painted that green. And then now I'm just attaching the word wish onto that to make it look like a little Scrabble tile holder. Again, it was 4 tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. Painted those to the color I want. And then just added the letters on. The other thing I forgot to do, I for some reason had these sitting on the side. I didn't paint my tag nor my letter. So I'm just going through and painting those. And again, you can see I removed the mask from the outside of my shiplap tag that I created so that I could kind of be messy when I painted. And then when I'm done and the green is right, everything looks good, I can just go ahead and remove the mask from the shiplap, and it'll be nice, clean, crisp edges. So that's really nice thing about the mask. And then I'm just taking the mask off the hollies and the berries, the holly leaves and the holly berries, and I'm just painting those as well. I just did a score line, or an engraved line actually, on the leaves, and I probably should have went a little bit deeper, so I just took a black pen and just added a line onto it just to enhance all that. But you can see here, again, I just pulled the mask off the shiplap because those are scored lines on the tag, and just pulled it off, and you can see how clean it was. There was a little spot that I had a green, and I just took a white paint pen and just went over that and went from there. So you can see how quick and easy it is to use the paint pens. And then I'm doing the same thing and the same technique to do the Santa Claus letter and the little postage stamp that I created. Okay, so now that we have everything painted and assembled and everything, let's finish our final assemblies. And all I'm doing is I'm taking some jute, and I realized that after I cut it, the stuff that I have, it was white jute, and I thought it was going to look cool. The problem with the white jute is that it was too thick. So I ended up going back to the natural hemp jute that, again, I just got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just peeling all the backing mask off that I didn't peel off before. But once I have that done, then I'm going to take a piece of jute, just to lengthen. It can be however long you want it. But I'm taking the beads, and again, I'm using the pre-painted beads that I found from Hobby Lobby last Christmas. And I'm just pulling off some beads to a certain, or to a length. And so I kind of decided that I'm going to do white, red, or 2 whites, a red, 2 whites, a red, so on. And so I pulled off those beads and went through and just threaded them onto the jute. Now, when I thread them onto the jute, you guys, here's a little trick I'd like to use, and I'm showing it here, is I take a piece of floral wire that, again, you can get a spool of it from the Dollar Tree for $1, and I cut off just a little bit of it, and I use it as a, like a needle threader. So I put my jute on through the wire, and then I thread it through the beads, and it makes it really super easy then to get everything through without having to tape it, glue it, or whatever. I can just use the needle threader and just pull it right through my beads. And then I also went through, and after I had my beads on, I went through and just made a tassel to go on the end of my tag and beads. And when I did that, it was just, I took some jute, a little bit of ribbon, and I just wrapped it around my fingers. And then I actually then took a piece of jute and put it through the top so that I could actually hang it from there, and then just took a piece of jute and wound it around right underneath it to tie it off. Now, I probably could have used the tassels that came with the beads that were part of the Hobby Lobby, but it's just me and I didn't care for them. I wanted more of that natural fun look because I used a lot of jute already in this project, so I thought I wanted to finish it that way and go from there. For our Santa banner, I'm taking red and white twine, jute, thread, however you want to call it, and I'm just threading that through the wooden Santa banner. And again, I'm using floral wire, you guys. I'm telling you, one piece goes a long way. I tend to just stick it into the jute label so it's always available to me, or inside of it, so that it's always where I'm with the jute, this spool of jute. And it makes it super, super easy to thread it together. I also forgot to mention that I tied a bow for the tag and glued it onto the tag. I forgot to record that one, so I apologize. And I also forgot that I was part of the file that you'll find is vinyl or to do the rolling pin. And on the rolling pin, it says candy canes 5 cents. And so I ended up having to come back through and do the rolling pin. So I forgot to show that. It was after the fact. So the books I forgot to actually tie ribbon onto. So what I'm going through is just taking some ribbon that I had, and I'm just going to wrap it around the box. I'm wrapping it lengthwise and widthwise around the box to actually make it look like a present. And I just took 2 pieces, wrapped it around, put some hot glue on it, cut it, and did the same thing with the other one because it was a lot easier than trying to twist it and everything else like that. So I just did that. And then once I had that done, then I went ahead and made a messy bow. So let's talk messy bow. You guys, messy bows are super easy, fun, and they look so good on top of something, and it's just amazing. So you just cut strips of ribbon, crisscross them, or even 3 directions, and lay them on there. And I like to use jute, ribbon, twine, things like that, different types of ribbon. I only have the one with me right now, but otherwise, a lot of times I'll just add multiple different colors of ribbon. Wide ones, thin ones, thick ones, you name it. You put it all together, and then you just take a piece of your twine and center it. Some people use a zip tie, but I find it's just as easy to use twine. I don't even cut the extra strings off. A lot of times I leave them on there as extra, and then just shake it out and make it really messy and have fun with it. Okay? And then I realized I wanted a little bit more dimension on it because I only had the one ribbon. Super quick, easy fix for it is all I did is I tied a bow. And again, it's just like tying your shoes. Don't overthink it, but you have to, when you have a single-sided ribbon like I did, you actually have to loop it, wrap it around, do a twist, because I wanted it higher, do a twist, and then do a twist again so that everything comes out even. And again, then I just took a piece of twine and pulled it through and just tied it. It was really easy. They're not that hard. Again, it was a loop. It's loop, 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 twist. So you have to remember to do those twists in there. And it's just a simple little twist. And I know, actually, I guess I used wire. I'm sorry. So I just put a piece of wire in there and tied it together. Again, you could use a zip tie. And then once I had that done, you can see where it actually had a little bit extra poof on it, and I just hot glued it to the very top. So it actually, not only does it look like books, but it actually looks like a present of books. So it was kind of a fun little take on doing something with the books. Okay. And there you have it, you guys. There is all the parts and pieces to our tier tray. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces to a tier tray. Everything is in the file for cutting for vinyl and everything, so don't let that stop you. It's super fun. If you are interested in wood pieces to actually do it as a wood version, I'm looking for feedback. If you're interested in those types of things, I can actually cut and sell that. Not that I'm trying to sell you on something if you're not interested, but if you are interested, let me know. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.